Marty, it's been a hell of a week. I just got back. I'm back in town. I just flew in. My wings, my arms are tired. As the Roddy Dangerfield said. I went to Victoria, did the speaker series for We Unify. It was fantastic, great showing, packed house. They actually had to bring in extra seating because all the tables were full. So this was fantastic. I want to see more people come out to these events. Not to mention this event, you and I are going to do more events traveling around Canada and going to bars. We're going to do our pub night series. Where's the next location for that, Marty? What do you think? Should we do Ottawa next? And really,
oh God, that would be epic. Like just go for broke and go to Ottawa. Go to Stony Mondays in Ottawa. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, sure. Let's do
Ottawa. So for people,
and then we do Kingston because we got to go visit Kingston before Mark Gerritsen loses his seat.
Okay, well maybe we'll do a whole weekend. I'll do a long weekend and do that. Yeah, that'd be like a Kingston Ottawa trip. Anyway, stay tuned in to the channel because we'll be making these announcements moving forward. This isn't like a thing where we're going to be charging people door charges or anything like that. It's come see us. The whole purpose is we're going to fly ourselves out there and we'll be the draw, but we want to get other people to get to know each other. And that's really the motivation behind it.
And you and I have enough friends in every town imaginable that if we go to a place like Ottawa, for sure we'd co-invite the plebe, the truck driver plebe and other.
I was actually talking to him last week. I got on the phone with him and I was like, yeah, if I set up an event, would you come out? He's like, hell yeah. He's not actually in Ottawa, but he's nearby. So
nearby, but I mean, during the big trials, he was there, and Dancy Media and all those guys, they're all there. Actually, probably. Where's Northern Perspective? Are they in Ottawa or are they? I
don't think they're in Ottawa. I think they're nearby. They'll obviously get the invite. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're in Belleville or someplace like that. So
yeah. So yeah, everyone will get the invite. So make it a big draw. Again, no door charges, anything like that. It's going to be free to come. As long as we don't pack the bar out and you can't get in, that does be one of the things. So want to make that a thing. So if you're keen on that, stay tuned into the channel. We'll make the announcements moving forward for stuff like that and these events that are coming up. Marty, we have a new prime minister.
Not yet. We have a prime minister
in waiting.
Designate, I think, is the official term they're called. Prime Minister designate or Prime Minister in waiting, something like that. Yeah, he didn't waste time. He went, Mark Carney on his Twitter feed instantly changed it to Prime Minister in waiting. So
does he have his gray check mark yet?
No, still blue. Still blue. Yeah, but then people are asking, well, how long does Trudeau's check mark stay gray? And I'm like, probably. Well, Trudeau's going to be a sitting MP even if he resigns, right? Actually, to be seen. I mean, Trudeau could do all sorts of things next week, but rumor has it. Actually, before we get into the rumor, let's talk about Carney's election results. I was shocked. I was surprised. Like we were, because they did a ranked ballot. And because there was 4 candidates, I honestly did not think that any one candidate would get 50% plus 1 vote on the first round, right? And Carney comes out of the gate with 85%. That seems suspect to me.
It's like you've never seen a North Korean election or a Russian election.
You read my mind. So I compared him to some serious dictators that are in that 85 to 90% range. But and like Carney, they published the results. He won all 343 seats. So anybody who voted, your vote was still assigned to whatever your address was, to your riding, and then each riding was worth 10 points. And then, so it was very convoluted. He literally won every riding, including Karina Gould's and Chrystia Freeland. Like Chrystia Freeland, who's elected in her own riding, only got 10% of the votes. Like, come on, that's suspect. I even dug into my writing. So my writing is ultra conservative, right? Like ultra conservative. Like the conservatives here win with 80% of the vote. And there's about 5,000 liberals column in my writing. 500 apparently voted. I'm like, that makes no sense.
And all for Carney?
Yeah, all for Carney. 500 in I live in Airdrie, Cochrane, it's called. 500 people voted for Carney, which is about 10% of the liberals that live in this neighborhood. Like,
well, let's not forget that they disqualified 2 candidates for being too popular. They were very popular and they're polling very high. And then what was it? They got 400,000 new people sign up to be liberals, yet only 150,000 people voted. Like what happens there?
Actually, that's the other bizarre thing, Clyde. Like 400,000 register, 162,000 got their ballot. Okay, so to get your ballot was complicated. It took me 4 days to get my ballot. And of the 162,000 who got their ballot, only 151,000 voted. So some people went through this brutal effort to get their ballot and still didn't vote.
I don't believe that for a second.
I don't believe that either, but it looks good on paper, right? Then they put all the statistics. They go, whatever, 80% turnout, and oh my god, yeah.
Well, I saw some campaigns online after it to say, we gave them all a boost by registering and becoming liberals. Let's all give them an equal boost in the opposite direction by all unsubscribing to the Liberal Party and denouncing our memberships all at the same time.
Well, I was certainly happy to unsubscribe because I was getting probably 10 emails a day from the Liberals, right? Between all the candidates and everybody else.
Yeah.
Did you see the funny one? It's not funny. Well, it is funny. It's not funny, but I posted something. Like, I know they're going to an election very soon because they sent me an email saying, hey, do you want to participate in an election campaigning college, they call it, or school, right? And I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. And I like to infiltrate and go do these things. $35. They want me to pay $35 to them to go to learn how to campaign for them. I'm like, get bent. Like, if you think I'm going to pay you to go campaign for you, that's where I draw the line. I'm not, actually, wouldn't that be funny? Marty gets to tag along with some liberal who's doing some door knocking and I just screw up all the speeches.
That's called culture jamming, Marty. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's called culture jamming. What you do is you pretend to be the side that you're opposing, and you pose as one of them, and then you go way over the top about it.
Yeah.
And you're like, we're gonna transition your kids, and we're gonna do all this stuff. Like,
go UBI.
On.
We're doing UBI. We're doing full UBI, but we're starting from. Yeah, we're doing from the ground up. Like, if you're 1 year old, you get UBI, $20,000 a year for 1 year.
I mean,
absolutely.
We leave the hammer and sickle off of the flags, but you know where we're going. This, right? That's culture jamming. That's a real thing, and I don't know if there's any rules against it, but it's a thing. I'm not encouraging people to do it. I'm just saying that it's a genuine tactic that's out there. Now, speaking of genuine tactics, we've got Mark Carney, and his tactic is to basically take the platform, the popular platform of Pierre Poilievre prior to, a few weeks ago, which was the Axe the Tax platform. It's the fix the housing situation, fix all the economic woes in Canada, but namely the Axe the Tax thing. Now, he came out and he made a campaign promise as the Liberal contender that once he's elected, he's going to axe the consumer carbon tax. He had to make the caveat that it was going to be the consumer carbon tax, that he's going to go after big businesses because that's what you do in a great economy. All the businesses pay exorbitant taxes, but nonetheless, this is a promise he's made. The Taxpayers Federation, Chris Sims, has come out full bore saying, "All right, let's put pressure on, live up to your expectations." This could be a win, actually, for the Conservatives, because if he doesn't first day in office at least make the carbon tax zero, because he can do that with a stroke of a pen as the prime minister. If he doesn't do that, this hands a giant win to Pierre Poilievre to say, look, listen, he's not living up to his campaign promises now. Do you think he's going to do that with everything he's promising in the general election?
Well, if you're asking me a rhetorical question, he's not going to do anything. I mean, he's a one-trick pony. Like, Carney is a one-trick pony, right? I mean, he got elected to do. He got elected. He's popular right now because of the Trump tariff war. Let's face it, that's fine. But after that, he's a one-trick pony because he hasn't spoken about anything else on the campaign trail. Like, he hasn't talked about, I don't know, what he plans to do for immigration, daycare, whatever, you name it, right? He hasn't talked about those things. He's talked about the tax, but I'm convinced that the tax is he won't do that. I mean, he's gonna if he ever got reelected, there's no way he'd scrap the tax. No way he'd scrap the tax because he's following up on the the WEF agenda. By the way,
but he doesn't need to get reelected. Let's just be real with this.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're saying should he do, like, if he doesn't do this? Let's go there. He's gonna. I heard rumors that he's gonna be assigned prime minister on Friday. So, like, Trudeau only publishes his agenda one day in advance. We know tomorrow Trudeau's agenda is empty. It's been empty for 4 days, been empty for longer than that. But rumor is Trudeau and Carney are going to the Governor General on Friday, and Carney becomes Governor General, becomes Prime Minister on Friday. Prime Minister designate. You're right. Then you're saying one of the things you're hoping he cancels the tax on Friday. Or
no, what I'm saying is that this is where the Conservatives can come in and say, look, he's not canceling the tax. He can unilaterally as the Prime Minister of Canada, because he will be the Prime Minister of Canada, even though he's sitting away up in the rafters. He still has the whatever, the staff or whatever they have, and he's got the stroke of the pen.
He's going to disappoint everyone. He's going to be a lame duck. He's going to be the prime minister starting on Friday, and he's not going to do anything for the next whatever.
But this is the best part, because now he's got all these campaign promises, and he doesn't have to campaign on doing stuff. He can just start doing those things. And this is the pressure that anyone in opposition or anyone against him in the running for prime ministerialship or in this general election that's coming up, if the writ does get dropped on Sunday, which people are talking about, it doesn't matter. Even through the election, he doesn't have to campaign on anything. He can just start doing those things. And if he says anything, any argument in return could be, well, you can just go ahead and do those now.
Yeah, he's going to be in a Yeah, I hear you. He's going to be in a tough position because he's going to say, if you elect me, I'm going to fix the things that are broken. And people are going to say, well, no, you can start fixing them right now. But they never, but that's campaign 101. I mean, you don't fix until you make the promise to fix, and then you get elected, and then you don't keep your promise. But I just want to go back to one thing. I don't know if you have the clip, but so Carney got elected on Monday or on Sunday. Monday was he had a caucus meeting. He did go to a meeting on Monday, and Stephen Guilbeault came out of the caucus meeting looking like pretty depressed, right? Can you imagine? I wish I could have been there when Carney said, hey, Stephen, I want you to axe the tax. Like, because basically he talked about it, right? I mean, like, oh, poor Stephen.
Well, he'll quit the party, he said. That was Stephen Guilbeault. He said, if the tax is on the chopping block, well, so am I as an MP. I'll quit the party. Yeah. And is he going to do that? Is he going to follow through?
He should do like Trudeau did and go down to the House of Commons and go get his chair then in that case, and then walk out.
I don't have that picture handy, but everyone saw it as he walked out, sticking his tongue out at the rest of Canada. And that's
a Trudeau legacy in one picture. That's 10 years of Trudeau, his legacy in one picture. That's him walking out of the House of Commons with his supposed chair in his hands, sticking his tongue out at Canadians in one last act of like stupid defiance. I mean, that's it. That's your legacy, Trudeau. That's your legacy. You accomplished nothing. You stole from us. You took us back to 2014. You set us back 2 generations in terms of social progress. And this is what you'll be remembered for. Congrats.
Incidentally, he's making the same face that he was making when he did blackface. All those years ago. It's like how it started, how it ended, right? Or where we're at now.
Isn't that insane?
Wow. It really is. It really is. But it's good riddance. It's good riddance.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunate situation being is anyone going to look into all the things that happened? Is anyone going to look into all that stuff? Will the RCMP get a mandate to go after SNC-Lavalin and all these other things now that he's not holding a seat in office? This is the cynical side that a lot of people get really angry about, is the immunity that government has from all of this corruption. Justin Trudeau has enriched himself tremendously while destroying our nation, absolutely destroying our nation. And he's just going to walk away scot-free. That is...
And even first of all, I don't like that. Like in my ideal world, these things would be investigated while the government is in power. I get worried about the vindictiveness that the appearance of vindictiveness when you have to wait till the government is gone and then the next government investigates the previous government. I think that's kind of a dirty can of worms that I don't want to necessarily open. But that said, I mean, these things need to be investigated. But we talked about this. 100 senators have been appointed by Trudeau, probably 800 judges. Like literally, it's in the hundreds and hundreds, not dozens. It's in the hundreds of judges, senior, like every senior government official. The chief of the chief of defense, like the highest, not the highest general in the Canadian Army, was appointed by Trudeau. The Governor General appointed by Trudeau. All the Supreme Court judges appointed by Trudeau. Chief of the RCMP appointed by Trudeau. The narcotic, like they're all head of Canada Post, head of the Bank of Canada, head of Via Rail. Like he has appointed everyone. So to go after him, it's we'll have to wait 10 years until these documents are unsealed or something like that.
Yeah, it's like almost unfurling the JFK assassination at this point. It doesn't seem like there's any chance of any of that coming up. But then. And what do we got now? We've got the next guy, Mark Carney, who we don't know how long he's gonna last, because honestly, he plans on sticking around. There's no way he's gonna put his whole life on hold. This guy who's a billionaire banker and do it all so that he can be prime minister for a weekend. Like, I just don't see that. Like he's got something up his sleeve.
Oh yeah, no, he was promised something. I mean, he was promised something, but whatever he was promised, it could derail, right? I mean, they're pretty confident that he's going to win, but it could derail. It could derail on him, and if it derails, I don't like if he just got elected as an MP and the Liberals don't win a majority. I'm not entirely sure he'll stick around. I hope he misreads the polls.
No, I don't think he will.
Yeah, I hope he misreads the polls. I mean, there was another poll. There was 3 polls released between since you and I last talked last week. 3 more polls, and they have plateaued, right? So the Liberals have plateaued. It's official now. 3 polls in a row. Conservatives. Well, of course, there's ecos. There's still ecos like predicting. Did you see the joke? There was a funny joke. Like somebody made it like somebody drew a map of the world and painted it all red. And then said like Ecos's new latest poll.
I did see that. Yeah. So there is some skewing to the polls, but I do actually think that there's some validity to the bounce back.
Oh yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. There's validity to the bounce back, but it's plateaued. Like it's plateaued a little bit. So I think the Liberal strategists right now are looking at it, going like, man, we have to strike fast. Like they have to go to an election now because. Between you and me, I think the tariff war is going to end in about 3 weeks. Like Trump right now is just there you go.
That's not really showing the plateau, because there are some polls in here that are pushing the Liberals like way up into they're even into majority territory. Some polls, which I don't believe those. It's a bunch of crap. But at the same time,
the Liberals are reading that and they're reading that, and they know, like I said, that Carney is really shines when they put him up as the defender of Canada, who's going to stand up to Trump. That's his one trick pony. He stands well on that. But I think that the tariff war in its current form will end in about 3 weeks, because I don't know what Trump wants. Things are settling out. I mean, I've been watching.
Before we get into that, because you're segueing into the tariffs, and there's a lot to talk about there. I just want to address the one elephant in the room, and that's the fact that Canadians are primed to vote Liberal. They're just absolutely primed to vote Liberal, and especially like Ontario, genetically Ontario and the Maritimes. Their PMs, like we're talking like Liberal MPs. So not PMs, MPs. Their Liberal MPs were getting, mail. They were getting calls to their office saying, "Listen, Justin Trudeau's the leader. I like you, but I'm not voting for you if Justin Trudeau's the leader." And this was across the board. They were getting this a lot, and so the Liberals did their very best. They got Justin Trudeau to step down, and they brought in Mark Carney, who's just another Trudeau. I mean, it's the same thing. You're not getting anything different, but it's on brand. It's back on brand. and it's back on, okay, we're, progressivism and all this other stuff, and people are happy to vote red, even if red and blue look the same. Even if they're talking the same rhetoric, they don't care. They'll vote red just because that's the branding that they're going into. And this is what I'm seeing a lot in these polls. And let's hope people come to their senses about it. But I think that's a huge contributing factor. Now, that being said, the tariffs, you're absolutely right on this.
Yeah, but one last thing, and then we'll go on to tariffs. Simultaneously, while Carney was having his election event, there were where did Pierre have his rally on Sunday? Like in Windsor, Pierre looked like he had about 2,000 people at his rally. So Pierre's getting he's still getting these huge rallies with people, and then we're trying to get into them. I fundamentally agree. I mean, liberal Canadians tend to vote liberals, and it's pretty close right now. I hope that the Liberals read it that way. I hope the Liberals decide to launch us to an election and call a snap election being opportunistic. And hopefully the election lasts 30 to 51 days. I'd like it to last a little bit on the longer side, the campaign. And I think that during the campaign, once the campaign's launched, Trump will calm down, the tariffs will calm down, and then Poilievre will actually have an opportunity to nail Carney on things other than the tariff war. And then I think Canadians will reawaken to the fact that the last 10 years have been disastrous. I
think there's some validity to what you're saying about the tariff war not lasting much longer, because, well, this is what came out in the news. Waiting on Team Canada. Attention, Team Canada, in case you missed it, China just imposed 100% tariffs on Canadian farms and food products, and then came out later with additional tariffs on seafood products. So where's the Team Canada boycotting all the Chinese goods? When's that going to happen?
Oh my God! Your local Walmart would be empty. Maybe not the food section. Well, actually, a good chunk of the food section at Walmart would probably be empty. But I guarantee you, the clothing section and the cheap toy section and the Walmart. Actually, I bet you 50% of the stuff in the Walmart comes from China. Maybe not 50, but a big No, you're right. That just shows the hypocrisy, right? People were all buy American or don't buy American.
Marty, they still are. I went to buy some wobbly pops today, and holy cow, I go into not the LCB, the BC liquor store, and this is the site that you'll see when you go in there. They have everything covered over, and you
guys are nuts. Ours are unaffected. I saw that. I saw your picture. I saw other pictures. I went today. Actually, I didn't go to the liquor store. I went to do groceries, and nothing. Completely.
It looks like COVID all over again, Marty. It is ridiculous. Yeah, the products are there. They're on the shelves, and they just won't let you buy them. They're choosing for you what you can buy and what you cannot buy. And this is where I got a little peeved at this, because I'm like, well, then what is it then? What is it then? Do we buy only Canadian products? So I measured the prices, Marty. Are we winning this trade war? I went and I looked, and so here's Canadian Club whiskey at the LCBO in Ontario. So if you go to the LCBO, a 750 milliliter bottle of Canadian Club whiskey made right in Hiram Walker's Ontario, right in Windsor, Ontario. It's made there. You'll pay taxes on top of this, right? You'll pay taxes on the taxes. It ends up just below $35, just below $35. Where else could you go? Well, you could go to the BC liquor store, and it's at $23.49. It's right around $35. That
can't be right. That's the price difference between Ontario and BC.
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah,
for a 26er, now at a 40. Okay, wow,
it's cheaper. Yeah, in British Columbia. That's right. But you know where you can get it the cheapest? You can get it the cheapest if you go to the United States of America, Marty.
Oh yeah.
I checked out the price, and you can go to Walmart. I don't have the picture up here right now, but you can go to Walmart, and you can pick up. You can't get the 750 milliliter bottle. It only comes in a almost a 2 liter, and it's about $20.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't have alcohol taxes like we do. The Americans just don't, right? I mean, that's all taxes on our booze is what that is.
buy Canadian. Okay, well,
Yeah.
why don't they do this? If they wanted to encourage Canadians to buy the Canadian product, sell the American product like they would normally, and reduce all the taxes on the Canadian products.
Totally.
Just make them tax free.
It's again, you're talking my language. I mean, we're, like I said last week, we're worried about at best, my estimate was that the tariffs could have had about $100 billion impact on Canada's economy for an entire year. That's it. And that's if they stayed on for an entire year. Eventually we'd adjust. $100 billion. We've already just the carbon tax is going to go up. I mean, we collect $8 billion worth of carbon tax annually from ourselves. The interprovincial trade barriers, all the excess taxes. Like, yeah, we're the tariff should have been a wake up call to be more efficient. Actually, all of that's irrelevant. Do you know how much our Canadian stock market and the American stock market lost in market capitalization in the last 2 weeks? It's already reached $4.5 trillion. $4.5 trillion. This is where Trump is getting hammered right now, because people in his own country are like, whoa, time out. Like your presidency is off to one of the worst starts ever in terms of the economy, which is the number one thing people care about in the US. Here in Canada, it's always healthcare. But the Americans care about the economy. He's vaporized $4 trillion with all this uncertainty. Man, like,
where's it going, Marty? What's happening with that? People aren't pulling out of US businesses. That's
no, it's just stock market losses. I mean, it's people panicking, selling at a loss, but it's real. Like it's real money. I've had that argument with people saying, well, you don't lose if you don't sell. It's like, no. If the stock market was worth $100 trillion yesterday and today it's worth $96 trillion, that means that in between those 2 days, somebody sold at a loss and there's $4 trillion less. Anyways, I'm just saying that, more and more people are waking up to the tariff war and watching from the sideline going, what are you guys doing? Like you're punishing each other. You're punishing, we've always said it. Nobody wins in a tariff war, but this one apparently, like, now there's some real serious losers. I mean, how many people yesterday told Doug Ford to just shut up? Like, just stop talking, Doug. Like, just stop talking.
And that's the news that came out, right? So Doug Ford folded. Folded on his electricity tariffs. And when he talked about shutting power off to the Americans, which is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, an act of war, not just a threat of like economic stuff. This is talking about shutting off power to hospitals and, people who need the heat in the winter to survive. Like, that's you can't just go spouting off stuff like that. And I think he got spanked. When he went.
Well, as soon as he announced it, and then immediately afterwards, Trump said, "Well, in that case, I'm increasing the tariffs on your aluminum and steel exports to 50%." So people say that Ford got Trump to back down. No. Trump didn't back down. Like,
didn't work that way at all. Here he is, Donald Trump, saying, despite the fact that Canada is charging the U.S. from 250 to 390% tariffs on many of our farm products, Ontario just announced a 25% surcharge on electricity, of all things. And you're not even allowed to do that because our tariffs are reciprocal. We'll just have to get it all back on April 2nd. Canada is a tariff abuser and always has been, but the United States will not be going to be subsidizing Canada any longer. We don't need your cars. We don't need your lumber. We don't need your energy. And very soon we won't need, you'll find out. But
at the same time, Trump was being a bit of a hypocrite with some of his tweets in the last couple of days, right? Saying like, you can't do that because it's against whatever the law. It's like, well, you did it to us, right? I mean, he
did go against the USMCA.
Absolutely,
that's the thing. Yeah. But it's in the goal of changing the thing. I think where a lot of people are confused is a lot of the rhetoric on media made people confused, I think. So Donald Trump came out and he made it very simple. I'm going to be doing punitive tariffs, 25% across the board for the illicit narcotics problem that's happening on both sides of the border. And also the bad people that are coming in through the lax immigration in Canada and that are going through the permeate, like it's a porous border and people are just getting through, and it's a big concern. So that was the punitive thing. The I don't know what's going on with why some of these tariffs are coming on immediately when they should be all just happening on April 2nd. So it avoids a lot of the confusion, but it's kind of back and forth and all over the place at this point. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, again, he's had a lot of wake up calls. Like, he's imposed tariffs on certain dates, but he did it so quickly that his own administration was telling him, sir, like, some of these things we can't do right away. Like, they just, the Americans literally said, like, how the hell do we calculate the tariffs? Like, do you have any idea how many cars come in and which way they come in and this and that? Like, there ended up being a ton of real logistics problems that made it impossible to. I mean, he didn't give a lot of time, right? Like, look at the, like, that's just governments. Like, look at what's happening in this country, right? We still have a government that a year into it, like, I tried to file my taxes today or this week, and then I gave up. I still can't file my taxes because I had a few measly capital gains, and the CRA hasn't figured out how to handle the 60% capital gains, blah blah blah, and they haven't approved the software. It's literally a simple logistics problem that creates headaches for lots of people. And Trump is facing some of those things, right? People have told him, like, dude, we don't know how to how do we calculate the tariffs? Just that kind of simple thing. It's one thing to say it, but it's been another problem to put it in effect. But
actually implement it. But you know who's really good at implementing tariffs? Canada. Canada's really good at it. They've been doing it for a long time. They're practiced, and it's become a big issue with not just trade between the United States. It's been a trade issue with Great Britain, as we remember last year in January. The Brits walked away from the negotiation table because we just wouldn't back down on supply management, all of these awful, dumb ideas. And then what did Justin Trudeau do? Not long after that, he decided to bolster the battery plants that they were trying to bring in Ontario. They decided to put on 100% tariffs on Chinese battery manufacturers and electric car manufacturers. Just as a trade protectionist thing that Canadians are used to doing. And well, it took China a little while to put the play in motion, but now we're fighting a tariff war on two sides. Canada's caught in a double trade war, and one premier is urging Ottawa to drop its fight against China. Why aren't we dropping our fight against America, Marty? Why are we not encouraging everywhere to drop the fight? It really is Canada's been a bad actor for a very long time, and it's kind of coming home to roost. It really is. Yeah,
and right now I don't know who Team Canada is anymore. I don't know who the captain is. The premiers are each doing their own thing. I mean, Ford this week Ford met with Carney today. I guess that's one thing, but actually, there was a cartoon. There was a nice cartoon that summed this up today. Somebody put it was a cartoon and it had 8 light switches. It was the same light switch, and on the light switch it said tariff, and it was like on, off, on, off. And that's kind of the feeling. Like, it was on, off, on, off, on, off. All I know is that at the end of the day, right now, the stock markets took a beating, a massive. I'd hate to be Elon Musk right now. Elon's Tesla lost half its market capitalization, man. That's $1 trillion. That's $1 trillion.
That's big.
It's big. It's crazy. Actually, you know what? Let's segue into this quick little bit. It's so messed up right now. It's so confusing. Look at what the Bank of Canada did this morning.
Oh man. Okay, I've got the clip. I have to find it. I've got
so many. Tiff Macklin won't say anything. Tiff Macklin is like, I don't know what to do. Okay, folks, by the way, so if you think like everybody who brags about Mark Carney having been a central banker with the Bank of Canada, Canada and the Bank of England or whatever. The Bank of
Mhm,
Canada this morning had no idea what to do, so they dropped the interest rate by a quarter, by 25 basis point, by 0.25.
Yeah.
And the quick explanation there was so messed up. Like Macklin is literally talking about, well, we're facing inflation again, but we're facing inflation, but we're facing a decreasing economy. Everything he said this morning, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about anymore. You have zero idea. Like, don't even pretend, dude. Just literally, Macklin, you would have been more credible this morning if you said, I had a big dartboard in my office and I had quarter point, half point, 1 point, and I threw a dart and it landed on quarter point. If you said that this morning, Macklin, I would have said, makes sense. Anything else he said this morning makes absolutely no sense. They have no idea what they're doing. Like poor Tiff Macklin trying to look at this going, I don't know who my boss is. I don't know who the prime minister of the country is. I don't know where tariffs are going. I don't know.
Marty, they're an independent organization. They don't listen to any politicians. That's not what they have in their purview. That's not in their oh, come on, I had to. I had to.
Oh, I know.
Because you said it earlier that Mark Carney is a one-trick pony. He's been the Bank of England governor. He's been the Bank of Canada governor. And what was his one trick? He knows how to flip on the switch for the money printer and make it go brr. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's all he knows how to do. And what do you think Tiff Macklem's doing right now? Money printer go burr. Because that's exactly how you bring down the interest rates. You got to issue new money and credit. But
they're literally
I'm laughing, but this is terrible. This is terrible.
He was doing mental gymnastics this morning because he literally said, oh, inflation is on its way back up, right? Like it was 1.9 last month. The inflation numbers come out next week. I have a feeling inflation's back up to about 2.1 or something like that. It's going to be back up. So he's saying inflation is coming up. The price of everything is going back up, but the economy is crashing. I'm like, wow, that's contradictory. Like you generally in a crashing economy, prices don't go up, but that's what he told us we're facing right now, a crashing economy with inflation. And I got to print more money.
Well, it was a crashing economy with inflation. It used to be like a recession with inflation. They called that stagflation. What would the new term be for this?
Yeah,
because it's not stagnant; it's falling out of the bottom.
Chrystia Freeland had a term for it, right? Didn't she call it sheflation or something like that? I don't know. Whatever.
Wasn't it a vibe session? A vibe session? Like people just aren't vibing with the economy. They're just not feeling the vibes to go out and spend their money. but
it settled down. Actually, whatever Macklin, independent of Macklin, I've always said this: you can always turn to the markets, and you can look at the markets. The markets, when we refer to the stock market, folks, we're talking about millions of people that are investing simultaneously at any given day. So markets are a source, collect a lot of information. Today, the markets settled down. The markets were all green today. All the markets were green. Everything was positive in the market. So that kind of signals that this, despite everything else, the things are coming back around and things are going to be okay. So, anyways, I'm being super optimistic. I think the tariff war is going to end pretty quickly. I hope it does. I hope Carney calls a snap election, misreads the polls, that we go to the polls for about 50 days. And in the next 50 days, I hope that him and Poilievre have a great debate. Because right now, even today, you saw Carney, right? He went to a steel factory in, I don't know where the hell he was, but they whisked him away. He won't take questions from the media. He is still they're hiding him from the media. He won't talk to the media. Yeah, where was that? And by the way, every person in that picture is an MP, is a minister. There's none of the workers wanted to be in the picture.
Yeah, no, they didn't want to be behind him. Because it doesn't look good for them. I think there's a comparison photo. Oh, let me pull it up. So there's a comparison photo of Pierre Poilievre with workers and Mark Carney with workers. Workers want to be nowhere near him with Mark Carney, and there's like hundreds behind Pierre Poilievre in that photograph. I don't know. Like, does Mark Carney, does he not want to be next to, middle class people? Maybe a catch poor or something like that.
I mean, let's be honest. Even Pierre is not exactly a man of the people, right? I mean, like he's a little bit better. I guess he does better. He's got a pretty little wife and 2 kids. He's a little bit better. He doesn't appear as snobbish as let's say a Mark Carney or a Justin Trudeau, but they're not blue collar workers. Pierre, you saw Pierre on Jordan Peterson, and he's like, I really like touring the country because I get to see how Canadians live. I'm like, yeah,
because you don't know. Because
you don't know. You don't know. I like Pierre, sure, but I mean, let's be realistic. He's not well, Jordan Peterson is the same way too. I mean, they're all academics, man. Like there's a big difference between a politician and an academic and you and me, right? I mean, Carney, they asked him in the debate in Quebec, like, what's a bag of groceries worth? And he had no idea. He deflected. He's like, well, I don't do the groceries. My wife does. I'm like, your wife doesn't do the groceries. She has a 6,000 pound a week allowance for living in England, blah, 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 blah. I mean,
well, it's like, well, the Taxpayer Federation that came out and showed what Trudeau pays in a month for groceries. And wasn't it like $12,000 in 1 month? It's just astronomical.
It was $88,000 last year or something like that. Yeah, $12,000 a month, like a big amount,
like unreal.
That's groceries. And how
that's
often
just groceries. That's not his meals outside of the house and
no, exactly. Like how many meals at home does he eat?
Yeah, hardly. Yeah.
Like,
hardly.
He never has breakfast at home. I guarantee you that. He goes to the House of Commons or to the parliamentary. There's a cafeteria in Parliament building. There's a parliamentary cafeteria for all the MPs. They go there and eat for free. Like it's they get free haircuts. They get all sorts of stuff, free tailoring. Like it's a pretty good gig. I mean, when an MP makes $200,000 a year, there's not a lot of expenses that they have to do after that.
It's all going in the bank, yeah.
It's all going into the bank, man. And that's why people always say, how do they get so rich so quickly? If you make $200,000 a year and you don't have any other expenses, you're going to accumulate a lot of wealth very, very quickly.
Well, because you'll invest that. You're not going to just sit on it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of wealth, and while we're almost on that subject, fire up that first tweet of mine, the top one, the one for the TD Bank.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let me get that.
I just want to show you. Yeah, that one. Let me explain that to people really, really quickly.
So I explained this ahead of time, and I
am an investor, and so the reason I looked at that is I just got my TD Bank annual report, and I got hammered by TD Bank. I bought it. Banks used to be good stocks in Canada. They make 5-10% return on investment every year. Last year, the TD Bank got hit with a $3 billion fine for money laundering in the U.S. Okay, Canadian corporation, $3 billion fine for money laundering for the Mexican cartels.
Yes,
and so this is the CEO's compensation report. He just resigned. Okay, he resigned effective February or March 1st. So. And that's his compensation. In the yellow box, I circled it. That bugger made $50 million in the last 5 years. Okay. He's making more than $10 million a year. And what did he do? He got the bank in trouble, lost $3 billion, plus they lost $10 billion in market cap. And what's his punishment? He gets to walk away and resign and instead of being disgrace, and he keeps his stock options. Anyways, I just put that out there.
It says here as well that he'll also be responsible for, what is it?
Yeah, advising the new CEO.
Advising. He'll be there until the end of July.
Yeah, and they'll pay him for that role as an advisor. They're going to keep paying him a measly $600,000 so he can continue to advise. So the reason I put that out there is because I always say this to people. I'm nonpartisan and I'll pick on everyone. I'll pick on conservatives. I'll pick on liberals and I'll pick on the private sector. And that's the kind of shit that I'm not happy to see in the private sector. Like, welcome to Canada. Even in the private sector, there are people who get away with murder. It's not just in the government.
All kinds, just getting away with it. And this is it. Like, where's the biggest amount of crime in Canada? It's the white collar crime. There's so much of it.
Totally.
And nobody's like going after them. It's unbelievable. No. Like all of this crime. So white collar crime, and then you have like the drug problem. You have all this narcotic stuff that's happening in Canada. I've pointed it out every time. I still feel like I have to point it out. When they do the bust of the biggest laboratory ever recorded in Canadian history, and it's this busy 24/7 lab that's producing this stuff, and they just so happen to show up when everyone was out except the janitor. Give me a break. No arrests. All of these
Exactly.
labs are busted and no arrests. What's going on? Something's fishy is going on in the RCMP,
and that's
in my
why
opinion.
I wanted to put that little tweet out there. I put these little stories out there once in a while. I mean, in comparison, our friend Chris Barber and Tamara Litch, they've been on trial for going on 3 years now. Their sentencing not even their sentencing. Their verdict has been put off and put off. Tamara spent 54 days in jail. She's a grandmother from Medicine Hat who was flown from Medicine Hat to Ottawa in leg irons and handcuffs because that's the policy, and she was on a warrant. Whereas that guy, who's the president of the Bank of Toronto Dominion and laundered money, yeah, welcome to Canada. So yeah,
why didn't the Americans go crack down harder? Like they got a big fine. They got a fine for $3 billion, something like that. It's the biggest fine.
$3.08 billion US, man, biggest fine ever for a bank. And then again, that is one of the tariff points of contention because Trump said, and he's right, American banks aren't allowed to operate in Canada. You don't see Chase Manhattan Bank or First Texas or whatever. But if you go down into the US, you see TD Bank, Bank of Montreal, Royal Bank. They're all down there, but we prevent them from operating here. So that's a form of tariff. So he brought that up. He's right in bringing that up. Open it up.
The comments are going to go nuts. So yeah, banks do operate in Canada, but at a limited capacity. And they're not opening up like branches. It's not happening.
No. But I mean, can you imagine? Like we absolutely, like, banks were enemy number one for the banks used to get picked on by politicians all the time because Canadian banks make obscene amounts of money. That's why I own them. I'm actually pissed off because normally Canadian banks are a good investment.
Well, yeah.
Actually, that's the difference between Canada and the US. The top 5 largest corporations in Canada are banks: TD, Royal, National Bank. The top 5 largest corporations in the United States are tech companies like Tesla and Apple and things like that. We have
what
are the
biggest markets in Canada right now, Marty? Well, banks, real estate, which arguably a lot of that is laundering, and the F word that we're not allowed to say on this platform, the narcotics.
The narcotics, yeah.
That's a gray market, which some are postulating that it could be on par with our GDP. It's that big of a market that Canada is selling to Europe. They're the manufacturing hub for all of Europe's bad stuff and all of Australia's bad stuff. It's crazy. And no one's getting busted. No one's being stopped. If they bust a location, well, they're just going to prop up a new location.
Well, have you heard of our new? Have you seen any actions done by our new czar? I mean, we appointed a new czar 3 weeks ago. I haven't seen nothing from him.
This is why I don't think the tariff war's done, Marty. I'm not kidding. I think it's coming back, and it's coming back with a vengeance. I think when Trump comes out.
Well, no, I mean the sense that I say it's done is that, I mean, they've been imposed, right? Like we're in the 25 to 50% tariff now. Like at this point, if somebody says, "Well, I'm going to do 100% tariff," I'm like, the only other thing you can do worse is close down. Like they're not going to remove them. That's what I mean. Like we've seen the worst of it. The tariffs are in place. And now we just have to adjust.
Adjust. So here's one of the adjustments, and this
unless Doug Ford keeps talking and then actually pulls the plug and disconnects the wires, then we're into a real war. But yeah.
Well, here's one of the things. So I've talked about Alberta wanting to get out of Canada and become an independent state, or even a 51st state. But then there's also this is an image that's been going around on Twitter, and this is southwestern Ontario being chopped right into the mix here, with a line just being drawn here right from Manitoulin Island all the way to Kingston, basically. This would be your manufacturing hub. This is basically where all of the auto manufacturing that spilt over in the 20th century into Canada resides, and this is where it all is. And people are worried, hey, with these tariffs, those guys will likely just want to pick up and move the capital just on the other side of the border, and bye-bye Canadian industry for at least in the automotive sector, because of how intertwined that has to be for it to operate and function in any way without raising the prices of vehicles. But then the other aspect of this was, well, why doesn't that chunk of Ontario just take off, and become either part of New York State, Ohio, or whatever, Michigan?
Do you know that
there
in that little chunk underneath the red line, about a quarter of Canada's population lives there. 10 million people live massive. In that little chunk under the red line. It's insane.
It's massive. Yeah. But I put this out there to ask people on Twitter what they thought. And I said, if you were given the option of losing your job, your savings, your pension, and your way of life, or keep your job, pay less taxes, have access to more and cheaper products and services, what would you choose? Because at the end of the day, if that line and that imaginary line changed and went from a maple leaf to stars and stripes, what fundamentally would change in these people's lives, except that things would get better? They'd have more access to a lot more things, and the economy would streamline. It absolutely would streamline, and by having access to the United States without the crazy border. And then I also added in there, and then we could finally actually have our South Detroit, going by the words to that famous song. But because I grew up in South Detroit, which doesn't exist, it's Windsor, Ontario. But that's the thing. Of course, people are jumping on this emotionally, but at the end of the day, this could be a viable option for people. And if that huge chunk of Canada moved to the United States, it wouldn't. I don't think much would change. I honestly don't think much would change, except people's lives would get better, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I don't live there, so I yeah. Hey, fair enough. By the way, just weirdly, I'm talking tomorrow to a British news group, and it'll be interesting to report back on that when we come on the show next week. They wanted the opinion of Canadians. Apparently, Europeans are watching, like the Brits are watching what's going on between Canada and the US, and they're finding it fascinating. I imagine it would be fascinating, right? Like you're in England, UK, you're going like, holy shit. The two colonies are now fighting each other. Awesome. Like my money's on these guys. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody's money's already on the United States in this whole thing. Because, well, they just can't the Canada can't survive it.
It's too much of both countries could be self-contained economies. The Americans definitely more so than us, right? The Americans is a big enough continent with 300,000 people and resources. They could trade among themselves all day long and make it work, and they'd have no problem. Yep. We would have a harder time. We need external markets. Well,
we can't even trade freely amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Interprovincial commerce is just it's nuts. It's
this better be a wake-up call. I mean, I hope it's a wake-up call, but
it has been for the Liberals. They're talking about pipelines to the different oceans we have on each side of our country.
Well, I can't believe we got them to do the gymnastics that they're doing. We got them to axe the tax. That's awesome. They're going to axe the tax. Maybe pipeline. I told you last week, right? I asked Carney got asked that one when he was in Calgary, and I asked Mark Miller, and he said, no, that's not going to happen. That's too complicated. We'll see.
Axing the tax. Yeah. It's Carney's life work. He's not going to do it.
No. He in fact, the only stuff he sort of strongly talked about in the last 3 weeks was still net zero and climate change and stuff like that. Like he hasn't. If he talks about axing the tax, he's very cryptic about it, right? He's like, I'm going to axe the consumer tax, but I'm going to replace it with a bigger
industrial tax.
And he's not talking. He's not going away from net zero and climate change. I mean, God, I think he has a poster of Greta Thunberg in his office or on his wall, so he's not turning away from that. Like he's.
He's Klaus Schwab's right hand man. It's not changing.
Yeah. Did you know
that
that
one more thing? We're running late. Yeah.
Oh, we're running out of time. Okay, we'll save it for the chat then. We'll save it for the chat. We'll save it.
So Marty, where can people find you?
Find me on Marty Up North on Twitter, and I'm gonna make Marty Up North on YouTube, and I'm gonna make a plea with the viewers because they've been awesome. I'm 200 followers away from my 25,000 mark on YouTube. Once I hit 25,000 on YouTube, I will be so happy. I will be able to rest and relax. So if you guys can go hit that subscribe button on Marty Up North YouTube, that'd be awesome.
Links in the description down below.
Yep.